Welcome to VDG Sports. I'm your host, Vince Douglas Gregory. Is the NFL overtime system fair? Short answer, no. Medium answer, does it really matter? Long answer, hey. The thing is, it's better than what it used to be. It used to be a sudden death overtime. Basically, whoever won the coin toss, more likely than not, depending on who the team and who the players are and how everything is set up. See, there's still so many different variables. But for the most part, the team that won the coin toss likely won the game because all it took was a field goal. And that's it. Sudden death. That's how it used to be. Now it's a little bit more complex. It's a little bit more fair, if that's a word. Basically, both teams will get possession of the ball unless the first team score a touchdown. Short answer. Does it really need to be fair? Seriously, there are other issues within the game that I would want corrected, that I would want the rules committee to look at, rather than figuring out another way to change the overtime system. Do they want it to be like a college system where it's just keep scoring, keep going back and forth, keep going back and forth? All you doing is pushing the buck. All you doing is making the game longer. All you doing is extending the game. And are you really trying to keep it as any given game an opposing team could win? Or are you trying to make the outcome the best team will always win, because in the long run they will have the opportunities to correct mistakes that they made throughout the game, assuming it goes to overtime, because they will have more opportunities because the system is fair. And making the system fair will basically be giving them more opportunities to win. And that's the thing about good teams. Good teams can mess up so many times, but they have everything else to overcome that. They have the players to eventually snap out and overcome. They have the coaches who can eventually snap out and overcome. Unless you have the quarterback who is overcoming everything to begin with, and if he has a bad game, then oh well. Oh well. But is the system really that bad where it just needs to be changed? Or is it so people want the game to be extended? People want the game to be longer because they are enjoying what they're watching. They are enjoying what they're seeing, and they just don't want it to end, because when it comes down to it, nothing is really fair. Nothing's really fair. Some penalties can be called every down if possible, if the umps or refs would want to. The line judge want to, holding if they want to. How about, instead of wanting to change the overtime rule, whether it's regular season, whether it's playoffs, instead of trying to make it so it's fair, basically extending the game so the best team will win, or the best team will have a more likely than not chance of winning because of their team, because of their coaches, because of their way, their strategy, their code, how they've been built, their foundation. Because we all know bad teams, or teams that are mediocre, teams that are not that good, they can have their day, but them having a day doesn't necessarily mean they are going to win. It just means they made less mistakes. They took their chances and they ran with it. Any given game. Do we really want to take that away by changing the overtime when there are other things that can be addressed? Being able to challenge any play, being able to review any play, If a mistakes happen on a play that can't be reviewable, what about that? How about making that fair instead of changing an overtime rule? Make that fair. Being able to review any play with a challenge. That seems more likely than not giving an opportunity, a fair opportunity to the team that deserves it and needs it at that time, instead of punishing one team or the other at the end because the system is the way it's set up. When both teams going in know the rules, at this point they do. Previous, there were questions. So I don't think the overtime should be changed. I don't think the overtime should be altered. If they choose to do it, fine, so be it. My attention, my energy is focused on things that would affect the game, during the game, in the moment. Something like that. But hey, to each his own. To each his own. What do you think? Do you think the overtime rule is fair? Do you think it needs to be fair? Do you think it needs to be changed? Or you don't care? Period. Because your team isn't going to go to overtime. And how about just letting it end in a tie? Both teams just self-eliminate themselves in a tie. Hey, be creative as possible or not. You pick, you choose.